Yo, what's up, Mars fam? You know what I'm saying? It's close to the holidays. You feel me? Basically right there, and I did Chinks drugs yesterday, so I had to do Max B and French Montana. Now a lot of people for some reason don't put respect on French Montana name, and what's crazy is a few years back everybody used to fuck with French Montana. It's like now, you know what I'm saying? Everybody's kind of iffy and want to throw dirt on his name, but I still feel like he's a dope artist. Max B definitely they say he's supposed to be getting out. That been prolonged for so long. I don't even count on that no more. Not saying that he's not, but you feel me? Make sure all y'all stay safe. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? It's the holidays, so a lot of people a little off. You know what I'm saying? But we ain't gonna talk too much. We're gonna get straight into the video.
Max B and French Montana. Just saying those two names is just crazy to me. But man,
Yo,
I've
yo,
been
yo,
wanting to
yo,
do a
yo,
video.
yo. That just made me think. That's speaking of French Montana. That just made me think. Whatever happened to Little Poopy? The little boy with the braids and the green eyes. What happened to him? Whatever happened to him?
On these two dudes ever since I did my Max B video that I did a while back, which you guys should definitely go check out.
Max Bigger
Link in the
Bell.
description. When I was doing my research for that video, I really got in tune with old French Montana, and I soon realized that early French Montana was a monster. This is that Montana pack 4 heaters like the top of a stove. Like this is that French Montana. I don't know how people feel about him nowadays, but early
People
French
was
was
yeah.
absolutely crazy. And I feel like at least my generation doesn't know that and only sees the French that we have now. Before I get more into the video though, I first like to thank you guys for coming to see this because you guys can be doing a million other things right now, but instead you're here with me and I appreciate that. If you guys like the content, you guys should like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. Also follow my Instagram too. That would be greatly appreciated. Comment down below your favorite tracks from Max B and French Montana. Also let me know where you
From Max B, I say it's so cold with A Boogie.
are tuning in from. Represent where you're from. Without further ado, I give you Max B and French Montana. We run the streets. French Montana was born in Morocco in November of 1984. French did an interview with Complex back in 2012 and he was asked about his time in Morocco. And he said that he couldn't remember too much, but he just remembers being poor. He used to be fluent in Arabic and French, but over the years the language has died down
Yeah,
on
it
him
went
and
away.
he can't speak it as well anymore. French would spend the first 13 years of his life in Morocco until his father crafted a plan to move to New York. French and his family would move to the Bronx in New York around 1996, and there
Did
was
they say he
one
from
huge
RPT?
problem. French spoke no English. This is what he had to say in an interview. The language barrier was like the most disrespectful thing you could ever step into. If you walk into somewhere and you can't speak English, everybody looking at you, laughing at you, and making jokes. I didn't know what the F they was talking about, but you could tell. The guys on his block started calling him Bonjour, which eventually went on to become French. The Montana will come later on after Tony Montana from Scarface because in French's words, everybody knew him as the #1 hustler. But earlier in French's life, back when he was in Morocco, he enjoyed playing soccer, but when he moved to the States, his love for sports shifted to basketball. French says that he was good at it, but he couldn't go to college. I also can't forget to mention that he dropped out of high school as well. In a Fader article, it said that his dad lasted 2 years in New York before he would leave. In another interview French did with Billboard, he had this to say about his father. My father got in trouble and they gave him visas to bring me here. He couldn't handle it and he went back. My mother had to stay here with us and get on welfare. It was a choice. She sacrificed for us
Definitely
and
gotta
it
always shout
worked
out to your
by
moms.
mistake. I became the biggest artist out of my country by mistake. Now that French's father was deported, his mom was on welfare, he couldn't play basketball, he would start selling drugs and would serve time in jail twice, and on a third offense, he risked being deported. French was
Damn.
now out of options with what to do with his life, and that's when he turned to rapping. French would say this in an interview: "It was always something that we loved doing. It got serious during 2005 or 2004, but it was always a hobby. It's like you and your homeboys and everybody's rapping. When I went in the studio and laid it down, it was a good experience. When you're from the hood and you love music, you're always gonna be rapping. Hip hop should be a part of your whole life.
That's a
Everybody
fact.
gonna think they can do it one time in their life. That phase just fades out." French actually, like a lot of guys back in them days, started out as a battle rapper. And some people on this channel know I'm a big battle rap fan, with Reed
I didn't
Dollars
even know
being
that,
probably
to
one of
be
my
honest.
favorite battle rappers ever, and Geechee Gotti being my favorite battle rapper right now. But I found an old French battle
I say I
and he
fuck
was
with Sue
snapping,
Surf.
I cannot lie. I'll play the clip and also Pete Fred the Godson in the background.
Referees, cause I'll fucking squeeze and pop lead and leave a hole in your chest size of Reggie Miller head, motherfucker.
I definitely never knew about that.
French said that in 2005 or 2004 is when he got serious with rap. But 2002 is when him and a friend noticed the growing market for street DVDs and began making their own. My era, in which I was born in 2001, for the ones who don't know, might not know too much about the DVD era of rap, but make sure to post your favorite DVDs from back in the day in the comment section below. But one day, French and his friend Cams were sitting down watching Smack DVD and thought they can do exactly just that. They already knew a bunch of rappers and plenty of former and current drug dealers. They wanted whoever was legendary to star in their series of DVDs, which went on to be called Cocaine City. Not too long after the start of this DVD is when French Montana would have someone to attempt to take his life. French had this to say in an interview: "I got shot coming out of the studio. It was about 03, 04. I guess somebody had a hit out on me, and I came out the studio and got shot in the head.
What the
I
hell?
ended up in the hospital. It was a murder case that I was dismissed of. No, there wasn't any settlement money to start up my rap career. People will spread all kinds of rumors." Now,
You got
there's a
shot in
whole
the head?
video on Vlad that French did back in like '08 that you can watch where he goes into further detail about his side of the story of what happened. Obviously, getting shot in the head is no joke, and this did set French back a little bit while he was recovering, but according to French, by his fourth volume of Cocaine City, people started to know who he was because he would also appear in the DVDs. French would really start buzzing in the street, and in 2007,
That's a
French
decent-
would
that's a
release
decent album.
his
That's a
debut
decent cover.
mixtape, which was French Revolution Volume 1. The next year, in 2008, French would drop the mixtape Live from Africa. And now we get into the
Yeah.
start of 2009, where we'll end the backstory leading up to Coke Wave. Now it's time to get into Max B's story.
Yeah, I forgot what Max B even locked
Max
up for.
B was born in May of 1978 in Harlem, New York, and actually stayed in the same apartment building as Cameron, a few floors
it.
beneath him. Growing up, according to multiple accounts, Max was a wild dude, and before we today knew him as Max B, he was running around with the name Charlie Rambo. He was reportedly always in and out of trouble and doing wild stuff. Max's mother had battled with substance abuse for most of her life and actually would end up serving a year and a half in prison. Max would end up being largely raised by his grandparents. When Max was with his grandparents, his grandmother taught him her strong religious values from a young age, and at his grandparents' house, music was always playing, and the type of music would normally be gospel. Despite Max's grandmother's guidance though, them streets was just calling Max's name, and he would get into some serious trouble at the age of 17, and Max would end up doing 8 years for robbery. Prior to this prison bid, Max didn't really do any music like that, but when he went to prison the first time, he unearthed a new part of himself. In an interview, Max said this: "When I was in prison the first time, I used to look in the mirror, And I knew there was no way I was going back to that street corner. There was no way I was going to be nothing. I already knew. That's when I became in the character. I just knew within myself, I just knew that Max B was the brand. It was this name. It had flair. That's who I was since like 2000. In this same interview, Max would elaborate on this quote. It was all part of this character. That was my persona. There's an art to this, I believe. I really believe there's an art to this, I swear. And when you coming in this game, you gotta put a character together. What you gonna do? You can either give them you know, or you can live in your character. Me, I've been away so long and not been in the ghetto so long that by the time when I became Max B, I didn't know how to switch off Max B. I was always Max B. That's who I grew into, Max B. When Max got out of prison after doing 8 years, he decided to give music a try, and his friend brought him to a studio, and Max went into the studio and laid some vocals over an instrumental. His friend would look at him in shock and would tell Max that he needed to do more music. In the interview, Max said this. So we started going to his brother's house, but his brother, even though I wasn't in studios, I knew the sound was off. I was like, something wrong. He was using reverb. So I was like, we gotta get in a real place. So I was supposed to meet up with Cam and do some stuff, and got to the real studio and got some stuff, but I was on parole violation. I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I got arrested for like pissing on the curb. So I went back for like 10 months. Before Max went in for 10 months, he reached out to his childhood friend Cameron because he wanted to go all in with this music after he got out. The other contact he got was with Mike Bruno and Jim Jones. While Max was doing this 10 months, he came up with the Bigavelli name. He came home in January of 2005, and he was really starting to get into music. Max signed a recording contract in 2005, and by that summer, he had a 6-figure advance, so everything was moving fast for him. 2006 would be a big year for Max because he would also appear on the hook for Cameron's infamous diss track towards Jay-Z, You Gotta Love It, on Cam's album Killer Season. Max really killed that hook, and it got him quite some attention at the time. In September of 2006, Max B was arrested in connection to a botched robbery turned homicide that occurred in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Now, I don't really want to go like too much in detail like about the case. Like it's just like it's like a quick Google search away about like what happened. You know what I mean? But anyways, literally a month after like he got locked up, like a month after Max B got locked up, Jim Jones would release the single We Fly High off of his 3rd studio album, Hustler's Poem. As many of y'all know, We Fly High became like a super smash hit.
That's a fact.
And actually peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Max B is actually in the video, which I'm pretty sure like obviously would make sense that they filmed it before Max got locked up. But I talk about the controversy behind We Fly High in the Max video, and to this day, like no one can agree on who did that song. In January of 2007, Max would be held on $2 million bail for his case he was fighting at the time. Now, Max B would be locked up for 10 months before his bail was finally posted. Max and Jim Jones were starting to get into a beef because Max wasn't liking a lot of things Jim was doing. For an example, Max said that the problem was that he always needed money. He said Jim would do a show and get paid like 15 racks, and he would only hand off Max like $300 and wouldn't allow him to make his own money. Max would leave Bird Gang in 2008, and the feud with Jim Jones was really on. After Max had left Bird Gang and publicly distanced himself from the whole Dipset movement, he had begun to concentrate on his own rap collective named Gang Green. And in 2008, Max would adopt the strategy of literally flooding the streets with music. This year, he dropped about 9 projects in total, and that's not counting how many features he did. Also in 2008, Max B signed a 3-album deal with independent record label Amalgam Digital. I hope that's how you say it. But soon after this deal was brought to light, Max would be prevented by Jim Jones's legal team from making any commercial releases of Max's music, meaning Max basically couldn't drop an album. Mixtapes were cool, but albums were a no-go. This now leads to the start of 2009, where I'll end the backstory of Max B and get into French and Max's relationship. In regards to how Max B linked up with French, according to French, he had close to Max through one of French's friends. French knew a lot of people Max was around and vice versa. Max at first wasn't really messing with French like that because of Jim Jones, but when Max started beefing with Jim Jones, things changed and he started running with French more. French and Max B didn't like Jim Jones at the time, and I already explained why Max didn't like him all that well. But French and Jim had beef because, according to French, like on a DJ Vlad interview he said that he found footage on DVDs of Jimmy commenting on his near-death experience. In 2008, when French was working on his mixtape Live from Africa, French was looking to record a diss track
What if they
for
cool
Jim
now?
Jones. And to make it sting even more, he knew who to reach out to, and it was Max. That track was called Wavy and appears on Live from Africa. French even admitted that when he aligned himself with Max, it really helped him get right because Max was one of the hottest dudes in the city, especially in the streets. But after they did that Wavy track together, French and Max were pretty much inseparable. They were the definition of wild back in the day. And when Max and French were on cam together, like that man, like yo, that man Max was like, yo, that dude was a fool, man. Like that dude was super entertaining. Like here's a couple of clips, here's a couple of clips.
You gotta put the viral ones in there.
How you hate and sell 16,000?
Yeah, you 16,000.
You can't hate and sell 16,000. If you gonna hate, move your numbers.
That come, you know where that 16,000 come from? He tried to put out that Bird Gang bullshit to piss me off, but you know what? That shit went treadmill.
You're in the hole.
Treadmill.
Nah, yeah, so-
16,000 the first week.
Yo.
Shit went nowhere fast.
You're in the hole, baby.
That's
No,
he
Quincy,
was
he had
fast.
girls with him too. He had mad girls with him.
You have
Probably coming out the back way. Probably coming out that
So,
back way. You gotta watch him. He's slick. He'll come out that back way, that fire exit. Somebody play that corner.
Oh,
he gotta come to the curb.
he on that.
I got a little bit of the melee.
We mad at the cameraman. He didn't catch Jim Jones running back upstairs.
He's one of the niggas. Let me get the nigga.
This dude Max is crazy, man.
Yeah.
But in a lot of them videos with Max and French in those days, like they accused Jim Jones of trying to blackball them, like in the industry. Like if this is true, like it really like didn't really like work, like at least like for French.
it didn't
as we
work.
would go on to like see. But before Coke Wave happened, both Max and French said that the mixtape was going to be a classic. Coke Wave was released in February of 2009, and the tape definitely lived up to the hype for sure. The tape was largely produced by Dame Grease and was
I ain't
hosted
hear
by
about Max B
DJ
till
Luke.
like later on.
I feel
down
like
the
this
line.
mixtape doesn't get talked about enough when it absolutely should because it's a perfect blend of French's like Coke Boy persona and Max's wavy personality. This tape is basically like when you and your homies do a group project and everybody does their job. Like for y'all that were outside at this time, y'all have to let me know what it was like when this tape dropped. Because I imagine that it was crazy. Because this tape really
Nigga,
did
was
help
legit.
launch French Montana's career. Shortly after
tape
Coke Wave, both
was
Max
legit.
and French would drop mixtapes, with French dropping The Laundry Man and Max dropping Quarantine within the same month of Coke Wave. 2009 would also be the year that French would have a shopping deal with Akon, according to French. He really took a liking to Akon because he was successful. His own solo career was popping. He had Lady Gaga and T-Pain. French
Hell
wanted to
yeah.
be a part of that, and this is what he had to say about the deal. Akon tried to help me out. He gave me a shopping deal. A shopping deal is when an artist takes a liking in you and they try to take you to a label to get you signed.
Okay.
I was gonna go get signed to his label, but they were going through problems with Interscope, Akon's label over there. As a result, my deal was over with him, so I went and did my own thing. Max and French would continue to drop music in 2009, but in June of that year, Max had been found guilty on 9 of 11 counts in his ongoing trial, which involved murder conspiracy and robbery charges. Max ultimately faced up to 75 years, and in
Damn.
September of that year,
You got shot
Max
down,
was
right?
sentenced to 75 years at the time. This would obviously be a big blow to French because him and Max built up a wave in a short amount of time, and as solo artists were gaining steam, but together like they were going crazy. Although Max was now in prison, it didn't really stop him and French from dropping music together, as we will see. Coke Wave 2 would drop in late November of 2009, and this was another really good album between the two. I still prefer the first one personally, but this one is still
I gotta
good
take a listen.
nonetheless, and made a lot of people wonder what could have
I
happened
never
with
heard it.
Max and French if Max didn't get locked up. Even though Max
That
faced
would
them
be crazy.
75 years, he didn't give up hope and went on to work to fight for an appeal. While in prison though, Max was still dropping projects, and in May of 2010, a judge ruled that Jim Jones no longer had any rights over Max B or his work, which eventually made way for his long-awaited debut album Vigilante Season to drop soon after. Representatives from Max's label told XXL that the judge ruled that Max had fully performed his obligations under both his 2005 recording contract and 2007
You know Jim
songwriting
Jones is
contract
tight.
with Jim Jones. Max B himself even said that he had given Jim Jones 10 albums worth of material. In 2012, Max B's court appeal had been rejected and his sentence of
Beanie
75
Siegel.
years in prison for murder conspiracy and robbery charges upheld. It did seem like it was all over for Max, but in 2016, Max B's publicist issued a press release stating that Max had entered a plea deal for the sole charge of aggravated manslaughter, while all of his original charges on his 12-count indictment, including first-degree murder and first-degree robbery, will be dropped. It was originally dropped to 20, but then it got dropped down to 12, so it's expected that sometime this year, Max B will be released. I think that he still has the ability to come out and really make noise and music again. I definitely think in this social
He's
media
been
age,
supposed to come
people
out.
will fall in love with Max and his personality because Max is just an entertaining dude outside of his music ability. I'm glad to see that French really did hold him down while he was in prison and continue on his legacy and paying him respect. French has put him on albums, mixtapes, all that good stuff, and has spoken positively of Max this whole time, and I can't wait until they link up again in person. What's crazy is that French never really stopped showing love to Max, even when he was starting to blow up. From what I've seen, it
He ain't
was around like
switched.
2010 when French's song with Waka Flocka Flame called Choppa Choppa Down off of his first Coke Boys mixtape, which garnered him a lot of buzz because it was really big in the South. However though, French's song Shot Caller, which dropped in 2012, would bring French's career to new heights. French just signed with Diddy and Bad Boy, and he was on the rise. Throughout the years, French
didn't even know
did
he
put
was-
out music that
I
he
didn't
had
even know he was signed with Diddy. I thought he was just straight like himself, which is Coke Boys.
with Max, like the 2016 mixtape Wave Gods, Coke Wave 4 in 2019, I believe, etc. There's like many more, but those are just some examples. Another thing I would like to say is that French and Jim Jones have finally squashed their beef after years,
Okay.
and French is trying to get Max to do it as well, but I can only assume that like it will be like a lot harder, and Jim Jones says that he doesn't really want to like reconcile with Max. But yeah, but I just thought that should just be mentioned. All in all though, like I really wish that we could have like known like what would have happened to Max and French if Max didn't get locked up. If French blew up, then like I just know that Max for sure would have blew up along with him. Max literally had everything, man. He had hooks, like he had the hooks, he had charisma, potential, and underrated rapping skills. Like yes, like I feel like Max could spit. Like people don't really be saying that, but yo, Max could spit. Like
I
yo,
mean-
like, go check out his verse.
I mean, people don't talk about him like super heavy now, but he's definitely like known. No, he's definitely known. No, and when his name come out, I feel like he do get the respect that he deserves though.
On songs like Steak Sauce, like Battlefield, Dipset, Bad Whiskey, like yo, like people be sleeping on Max's like rapping skills. Like Max
Most recent
really
song I
spit.
listened to
But I still
was
think when
with
Max
A
gets
Boogie
out,
So Cold.
like him and French can do some great things, but it'll never be like what it would have been back then. If you want me to do a full-on video on French Montana, like let me know in the comment section below, like because like if I get like enough support, then maybe you know like I'll do it. But I don't really want to talk about new French like that. That's why like I really like compromise by talking about old French and like old Max. You know what I mean? But I love you guys with all my heart. Peace.
Man, let me know what's your favorite French Montana song. I got a lot. I got Don't You. I got Ain't Worried About Nothing. What else? What else? You got a lot. You got a lot to choose from French. You got a lot to choose from Max. That being said, I appreciate y'all for the love and support. Make sure y'all stay safe for the holidays, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video.